Okay, good evening and welcome. This is the May 22nd, 2023 regularly scheduled meeting of the school committee. Call the meeting to order. It is 6:04. This meeting is being both audio and videotaped this evening. I would ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. And we will move on to a roll call. Sam, would you like to start us out, please?
Sure. Samantha Velasquez, Secretary.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Sarah Trulio.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Gregory Thompson.
Elizabeth Marcin Boucher.
Delenta.
Julie Boucher, Student Representative.
John Fitzpatrick, Student Representative.
Molly Riley, Student Representative. Ashley Kahi, Student Representative.
All right.
So as everyone can tell, we have 4 student representatives here tonight. All those who have assisted us throughout the year, and we're very thankful for that. And in that same spirit, we have a recognition of all 4 of our student reps tonight.
We do. So I'll walk down here and I have these in alphabetical order. First up, we have Ms. Boucher.
Oh.
Sorry for the fingerprints. Recognition award presented to Julia Boucher, Student Rep, Yale School Committee, May 22nd, 2023. Nice job. Okay, I was a little late on that. That goes the other way. There you go. Nice. Next up, we have Mr. Fitzpatrick. Very similar. I'll take that out. Again, sorry for the fingerprints. Very nice. Thank you. Recognition award presented to John Fitzpatrick, Student Rep, Yale School Committee, May 22nd, 2023. Also gives you time to think of things to say and share. Thank you. So we have Scotty. Recognition award presented to Yale School Committee, May 22nd, 2023. Always a surprise. Nicely done.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, we have Ms. Riley. Might be able to read this with me. Recognition award presented to Molly Riley, Student Rep, Yale School Committee, May 22nd, 2023.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you to all 4 of you, not only for your participation, but for your leadership, your help. Yeah, in some cases, guidance when we just throw a curveball in the middle of the meeting and say, well, what do you think? Always responded with poise and maturity and vision. So thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Smith. To our students, you're what it's all about, and certainly you being here as representatives and all the things you've done throughout the years for the high school and all the grade levels, is certainly appreciated and acknowledged. So thank you for spending some time with us and giving some input. Smile. Okay, we'll move on then. We have minutes for approval. If I could take a motion for those, please.
You're doing the regular ones first?
Yeah, executive. Oh, wait.
I move to approve the executive session meeting minutes for May 8th, 2023.
Motion made by Beth. Second by Amy. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. You were not here.
I was not here on this one, so I'm an abstain.
301, Sarah. Sam.
I move to approve the May 8th, 2023 regular session meeting minutes.
Motion made by Beth. Second by Amy. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 And I'm an abstain.
Nay and one abstention.
I wasn't here.
So 301 again. Sam, thank you. Okay. We have committee and subcommittee communications. Beth?
I just want to say a couple of weeks ago, they had awards night that we were able to go to, and it's really nice. A lot of great kids up there. A lot of kids that probably should have been up there that we don't get the opportunity for. But the fact was, it was a really nice evening. A lot of hard work went into putting the event on, and the work that the students did to get there. So it was a nice evening.
Great. Yeah. Amy.
I just wanted to update the committee that the collaborative is in the process now of interviewing for their new director position that Mr. Joyle has retired from. And so interviews are underway, and next week is also another big week with some interviews. So I just wanted to update the committee on that work.
Great. Big position for sure.
Mhm.
So keep us posted, please. Yeah. Julia.
So basically, I guess maybe for all of us, what we could all say is that as a whole, the main thing that is happening right now, especially at the high school, is just everything with the seniors, I think, as a whole. So things like this week, we're turning in our computers, and we're making sure we have things checked up, our community service hours and things like that, in order to get our graduation robe and cap, as well as getting our yearbooks. And then our last day is on Friday, and then graduation will hopefully be next week on Friday. And those are really the most things that are happening right now in the high school.
Yeah, exciting times for sure. Awesome. Thank you. John, did you have anything else?
I would add that the prom was a massive success.
Great horse.
Yep, great horse.
First time there, right?
Yeah,
Good pictures.
Good.
very good pictures. I thought the food was excellent. I've heard some mixed reviews on portion size, but that's to be expected. So I was very happy with it.
Awesome.
Can't win them all, John.
Can't win them all.
They drive you around in a golf cart from here to there.
Right in the golf cart.
See, small things, right? Molly, anything else?
Not at the high school, but I know 8th grade just got back from their DC trip that they went Wednesday to Friday last week. So lots of adventures, but I think they all had a good time, at least from what I've heard.
Awesome. Very cool. Ashley, anything you'd like to add?
We're having Senior Spirit Week as well. That's going on at the high school as well. So we're having
This week?
Yep.
What was today?
Semi-formal day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it semi-formal?
Semi-formal.
Semi-formal?
Yeah.
Also participated.
Sweet. Good.
In the semi.
What's tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Dynamic Duo Day.
Dynamic.
Oh,
Okay.
Wonder Twin Powers.
Senior Citizens Wednesday, so watch out.
Oh.
So watch out for
Sarah, anything to add tonight?
Gordon and I had a meeting with the collaborative committee last Wednesday. The teacher recognition event was the primary focus of our time. That's June 8th. They've put together a wonderful program to really recognize years of service and the retirees. And then we also discussed a little bit about the budget development process with that team.
Oh,
They just had some questions about where we're in the process.
I'd like to feel confident because we're in the middle of May.
yeah.
And then we're going to get a budget.
Yes, we're going to need a budget. There is the budget hearing is tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
By the way, in terms of budget. So I'm going to try to get there. I have lacrosse against Long Meadow.
Ooh, that's a big one.
I may be a little late. But yeah.
What time is that?
The game is at 5, I believe. The budget hearing is at 6.
I
We
can
have
go.
our diversity
Make sure I'm
meeting.
there.
You can go?
I'll make sure I'm there. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get there. Like I said, it's already gone through the Finance Oversight Committee, and I don't know what's down.
Yeah.
Sure.
Who knows? Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you all for that input. Very helpful. We have minutes. We have communications, opportunity for guests. None today. We have discussion of revision to the district code of conduct.
Okay, so in your packets, we have something that starts off with a summary of the change in the suspension law and then goes into, and I apologize, it goes into a smaller font for some reason for the revision of the pages that we looked at the code of conduct. And then you have following that, the original, sorry, folks. Share over there. I can, if you want, I can put it up on screen. You want me to do that?
Move my copy. I got my
Okay, there's another one.
Screen or not?
no, it's okay.
So anyway, I'll walk you through this, but certainly you can see as you put it side by side what the original code of conduct looked like. And we, as a leadership team, focused in on really two areas. We focused in on attendance, which is the beginning section of the code of conduct, both to add clarity and also revise it so that it's looking at the elementary level, the middle level, and the high school, and reflecting what we're really doing. The clarity is around the piece that there is Mass General law around attendance, mandatory attendance at school, and parental responsibility as well as school responsibility. And so we wanted to make sure that our families and our students are understanding that, and that we're making that as clear and understandable as possible in the code of conduct. We're also realizing that, and this is not something that is just in East Long Meadow or even in the Commonwealth, across the country, that after the pandemic, we're dealing with an attendance issue that you're coming out of procedures and protocols where you're telling people to stay out of school. And then you're trying to bring your students and families back in, but you still have, at least last year and up until mid-May, really, protocols that speak to staying out of school for at least 5 days if COVID were to be tested for and found with a positive test. And then I think just in general, there's anxiety and fear. And so that's keeping students and families out of the building many times. And so that's something that we have to continue to work on. So we looked at attendance, and then the second part, we moved into the changes in the suspension law, and then we sent all of it to our attorney so that we could make sure that things that he may have revised made sense from a legal standpoint. And then we also received updates and recommendations from the attorney. When green, and I realized that that's challenging to read in some places, so I apologize. It looked great on screen, but when it printed, it's a little bit more challenging. You have anything in green, that's something that was revised with the leadership team getting involved. Anything in blue, those are recommendations coming from our attorney. Simply put, before we dive in changes in the suspension law, the big changes really are around documentation. That whatever you do, if you're moving toward suspension, you need to document and show why you're moving toward suspension. The law has not changed the emergency removal part. If someone is possibly presenting harm to himself, herself, or others, you can still move to emergency removal. If you have someone who, no matter what you've tried, continues to disrupt the educational process, you can also move to suspension. However, there are 4 areas that they would like to see schools start to implement, and that would be mediation, conflict resolution, restorative justice, and collaborative problem solving. Although we didn't necessarily have that wording in our code of conduct, I am happy to say that our administrators were utilizing those tools and will continue to utilize those tools as we go forward. Questions before I dive in? Okay. As we look just quickly on page 9, academic honesty, that We just added some things to what exactly we're talking about there to clarify. And so something such as turning in assignments that are not your authentic work, that would be part of academic honesty. We also added, I didn't highlight it, I apologize, artificial intelligence. That's coming into play now as well. It can be both a tool that can be very effective, and it's going to be, just as we've seen with technology advances in the past, it's going to be a challenge. And as we have 4 seniors right here are graduating soon, I'm sure it's going to be a challenge on the collegiate level too.
Yeah.
Just be careful.
So how do we address that going forward? It's been a thought of mine or worry of mine with AI, and certainly how it's going to affect education, students writing their own work. How do we keep up with it?
It's challenging to keep up with it, but there are tools that you can use to decipher. And so our departments start to debate, okay, do you use that? We also lean on these tools and what tool is the right one? But then right now, our departments kind of lean on our IT department to help us with what are best strategies. And that's what we're employing right now. But it is a constant discussion, and in many cases, it can be a debate.
Yeah. Do we have a sitting technology committee or anything of that nature? I'm wondering if we should think about looking at this further as it becomes more of our everyday life.
The MASC might have policies on it already.
I can look into
It's
that.
called paper and a pencil. The World Book Encyclopedia.
There you go.
That'd be fun.
You know what I'm saying, Gordon. I just don't want it to get away from us, and we haven't talked about it or thought about
Sure.
it. So
And it's escalating fast.
it is escalating.
I mean, that's something that we can certainly start to discuss more at the leadership team level, bring in the IT department, but also start to reach out and see what other districts are doing. Reach out to MASC as well.
Yeah.
And just start to get, because everybody's grappling with it.
Yeah. It's here all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
In addition to IT, I think as professional development standpoint, helping teachers to understand how to, for even just in my daily work at the college level, it's like you're not going to get ahead of
Right.
AI.
Right.
But what you can do is like learn different, how to
Spots.
reword a
Yeah.
test questions so that, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that the students can't easily just go to the AI. It has to be more, it's maybe a little more subjective or asking for specific reference points in terms of research or touch points in terms of, what they've read, just making things a little personalized. Not that our teachers aren't doing that, because I know that they are, but just a little PD around it. I
Sure.
know has helped me professionally.
That's good to know.
I
Yeah.
think that's inevitable too, is more professional
Absolutely.
development.
Absolutely. Because
I'm
we're
wondering
not going to
actually-
stay ahead of it, but
I'm wondering.
Not.
But to stay as informed as possible.
absolutely.
Collaborate.
Well, I would throw it out to in a collaborative meeting because you have 7 districts that are going to be
Right.
grappling with this. And if that's something that they might be able to put
Yeah.
together for us, then that would be really helpful.
Okay, great.
I'll reach out to them. Okay, thank you. Right, then we move into the next area is our attendance policy. And so basically what we did here, I won't read everything to you unless you would like me to. We reorganized it. A lot of it is the same, but it's now in different places. And we tried to clarify just what we're expecting of ourselves as well as our families. And simply put, when you look at that first sentence, regular and punctual school attendance is essential for success in school. That we wanted that to be the lead sentence. You really have to be here. That's what it's about. Then our attorney did at the last sentence of the paragraph put in fact, parents and guardians have a legal responsibility to ensure that their child meets the school district's attendance policy and state laws governing attendance.
I like that.
Putting it back on parents that this is something that is a legal responsibility. And then I'm going to jump down because we did try to clarify what excused absences may be. And the attorney added in, students may be excused temporarily from school attendance for the following reasons supported by written. And I think that's a key. The high school is very much used to it because the notes come in on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah.
But I think if we can see that happen a little bit better at the elementary level, it would be helpful. We struggle, and you'll see that further on with at the elementary level, this idea that vacations, let's take one outside of the school vacations. And these are not just a day, 2 days, it's like a full week. We're seeing more and more of that. And so this is an attempt just to let people know, hey, this is important. And those are it. We don't ever want to lose the communication. So we always appreciate the communication. And a lot of times it is written communication that they're taking a vacation. But they also need to know that in the eyes of the Department of Elementary and then Secondary Education and the law, that's an unexcused absence. Taking your child out to go to X is an unexcused absence. And I know that over the years, we've talked about some really interesting vacations they've taken where maybe they've gone to a foreign country because they have relatives there. And so there is a lot of benefit to that, but still we're stuck in between the family and the law. And so we just need to hopefully partner better with families.
Gordon, just logistically speaking, are we accepting emails in that regard too?
Yes.
Because we say written, but
Yeah. So email.
I want to clarify, does that fall under written?
In our mind, in this day and age,
Okay.
yeah, written.
Fair.
Yep. So I didn't read the entire section that's highlighted there. I didn't know if there was any question on any of that.
No.
Okay. Then there was a paragraph there on page 11 that we did delete at the recommendation of Attorney Quinn because it was somewhat redundant. We bolded, it is responsibility of the parent and guardian to notify the school when a student is absent. That is redundant, but in that case, we're strategically being redundant. Then we bolded the law, and you can see as we come off of where it says in accordance with MGL Chapter 76, we have some revision. The part that we really want to emphasize is that should there be 5 unexcused absences, that schools are going to be reaching out, and the best way to problem solve would be an in-person meeting so that we can put a plan together so that hopefully we remedy whatever may be impeding the child from coming to school. And we've been doing that. We need to do that more consistently. Stating it has been stated in the code of conduct. We're stating it a little bit differently now so that we hopefully can be on that right away next year. Questions on any of that? Okay. As you move down to where it says 1st grade to 5th grade, originally that was 1st to 8th. We did clarify this a little bit because they do different things at 1 through 5 than they do, say, 6 through 8 or even 9 through 12. And so we've gone through that and simplified that a little bit. So then you have a 6 through 8. That language is not too much different than what was there when it said 1 through 8. But the reality is 1 through 5 was probably not following all of what was said there, where 6 through 8 is. One thing that we did add, and I'm sure this is an exciting one for students who may be watching at home, that should you be absent so much and missing more than 90% of the school year, summer school could be an option in the section as part of those plans. Those are some of the things that we want to hopefully talk about. Hopefully no one's in a situation where they have 5 unexcused absences, but should you be in a meeting like that, that's always something that you want to throw into the plan early. So maybe we don't have to go there. So that was something added. As you move down and you get to tardiness underneath East Long Meadow High School, we did remove the entire point system. It was not something that they're using anymore. I think it was confusing. And we've gone more to, if you are consistently tardy, you are going to rack up the detentions. They are running those detentions. I had the privilege of being up in the library as the detention came in, quite riveting. And people are not using their cell phone in detentions, which was really good to see. And they are actually doing work.
That's good to hear, because I remember when that policy went in place, you could never, you couldn't even earn back. Like if you had a tardy point, you can never get rid of it. And it's like, well, what if you're like good for a year? It doesn't like expire. So
Well, you could.
I'm happy they're-
Oh, you're right. Unless you hit that magic 13 and then you got a Saturday detention.
right.
No longer have Saturday detention at ELHS. They do at Birchland. But
All right.
the tough part, and this is another thing I know they're thinking about when they got into this discussion, is that under the old point system, if you got to 13, as I said, they used to go to Saturday detention. They no longer are getting people who would like to chaperone Saturday detention. But the other piece to it was that if you didn't show to a Saturday detention, it was an automatic 2-day suspension.
Well, you can't.
And so you had a lot of students who said, I'll take the 2-day suspension. Well, law says, let's try to do everything possible not to suspend. So we needed to remedy that.
Okay, good.
Okay. As you move into page 13, we just updated the numbers of where absences become problematic in classes because we're in a different type of schedule. And so we want to be at 5% and 10% of how many classes meet during that year. Didn't make any changes on 14. You get 15. And now we're into the disciplinary section. We did clean this up a little bit and simplify it and just give areas that are predominantly classroom teacher responsibility. Now, that's not to say that the classroom teacher's ever entirely alone. They always have the assistance of an administrator. Some of the things that we think about that hopefully can be dealt with in class at the elementary level and at the secondary level. And then we updated the fact that students have a district issued Chromebook at all levels. So shouldn't be a need for too many other electronic devices. I know that students all have phones, but hopefully in class we can use the Chromebook instead of the phone.
Do all the kids even know to what grade do they start getting the Chromebooks?
We are utilizing Chromebooks as early as kindergarten, but they're classroom sets, so they're not going home. And we're also using iPads.
Okay.
iPads in kindergarten, probably more so, and then first grade, more Chromebook, second grade, definitely Chromebooks. Chromebooks may go home at second grade a little bit more.
They do every night.
Every night.
Mhm.
That works.
So we have districts that have banned cell phones or at least have them locked up during the day. We had discussion about that.
We have had discussion, and it is an interesting debate. I did witness that at detention the other day, and I do know, and maybe our students could weigh in, that there are teachers who some have the cell phone pockets and might be utilizing them successfully. Would that be accurate?
I don't. I feel like more with the underclassmen.
I think it depends. I think it depends on like the class. I think like if you know that you have a class that is difficult, then you might want to and that uses their phone a lot, they would probably utilize it. But if you have a class that is less difficult and is less apt to use their phones, then the teacher might be like more lenient and not. It kind of just depends on like the grade level and also like the type of class.
I also feel like the underclassmen more so.
Yeah.
Just because they're trying to give more of that freedom to the upperclassmen, especially like the senior class right now. Like they weren't like, oh, we're going to take away everything you did for the last 3 years.
I think it's also important to note that students are very crafty as well. So like regardless of
True.
when there's classes that you put up your phone in those like little cell phone pockets, all
I
of a
did
sudden
hear about
everyone
that
needs
today.
to blow their nose and all of a sudden I need to be in the corner or I don't have a phone that
My
day.
mom took my phone this morning.
So I've actually gotten several emails about this issue in the past month or so, maybe 3 actually. So what do you all think? So if you were being really honest, what is the like level of distraction in terms of maybe not necessarily you personally, but just generally in terms of the phone? Because what I'm hearing from parents, obviously I have my own kids. I also have a phone, so I know how distracting it can be. What do you think?
I think it sort of depends on the student, of course.
Yeah.
And so I know there are definitely classes where there are kids who are on their phone consistently. But then there are classes where everybody's pretty much off the phone.
It's very actively participating.
Right. So I would say there's a contrast for sure. But overall, I would say the distraction for everyone else is usually minimal. It's more so on the student who's on their phone.
Yeah.
They're just not getting the information. They're not going to know how to do the work.
I also
later
feel
on.
like it's very teacher dependent. Like I feel like some
Yes.
teachers at the beginning of the year start off and they're like, if I see your phone, I'm going to take it. There will be a consequence. And so having that from day one is very different than teachers who don't mention the cell phone and kind of just hope that we have the self-control.
Right.
Additionally, I think that a lot of the students that are like caught or like are actively using their cell phones in schools are very like aware of the consequences that are going to happen. So there's not so much that you can do when someone is aware of the outcomes that's going to happen and they continue to do something that they're not supposed to be doing.
They're aware and not fearful.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are the consequences?
Well, in some cases, teachers are taking them, but
That's
technically,
very teacher dependent.
Yeah, it really
like, it could be, if it's disruptive, it could be taken and sent to the office, and technically, which has been laborious and challenging to keep continuously implementing, you're supposed to have a parent pick it up.
It's not laborious. The kid doesn't get the phone back. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think it's okay if you have your phone passing classes, you have your phone before school begins, you have your phone at, lunchtime, that kind of stuff. That's our reality right now. And I'm happy this conversation has come up because I feel, are we being fair to our teachers? We kind of have a loosey-goosey policy. And so we're kind of making it, whether it's written or not, making it up to the teachers. And I don't know if that's fair to the teachers to not be like, this is the policy, whether it's good, bad, or unacceptable. And this is how you deal with it. And I think that maybe that parameter should be better defined to give the teachers, like, it's not me,
Right.
It's Mr. Smith. Or it's the school committee. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. And it's not going to be popular, obviously.
No.
But
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
no, not at all. That was.
What I've heard from, and now I'm hearing from the students, although I need to blow my nose and corner is interesting. That the sort of the phone pockets have been the most presented remedy from staff.
Right.
I would think administration likes that as well, because then you're not trying to call about a phone or send an email about a phone that you have. And we used to get quite a number of them. And then often you had less than friendly conversations with parents who are coming to pick it up, which also is challenging. Not laborious, that was a poor term, but challenging.
No, it can be
It's not the
laborious.
conversation you want to have.
No. They also have the watches too. So even if the phone's stuck up in a pouch,
Their
watch is
their
gonna,
watch
but at
will
least
work.
it's less.
True.
There's only so much you can get on the watch
So
without
in
really.
some school committees have adopted a policy that, all classrooms are going to have that pouch.
Let's do
Maybe ask the
Let's do it.
teachers. Why don't we ask the
No, I'm
staff?
not
Like,
sure.
what's the best way?
I
that-
think it's incumbent upon us in
Yeah.
our role as the adults to help students not be so addicted to their phone as we all are,
Mhm.
self-admittedly. And if they shouldn't be on their phones in the classrooms, then it might be helpful for us to just create a policy that on the way in, drop it in, on the way out, you pick it up, you have it between
Or-
classes.
What if it's just in your backpack, out of sight? I mean,
Which I think was to someone,
they're just gonna.
I don't have my phone.
Yeah. There's
Because teachers also don't want to get into frisking people.
Right, right. No, it's
searching,
fair.
And that's just wasting.
Nor do our administrators, even though that's part of our job.
I mean, that's fair enough. Just
Yeah, but I
it
think
goes
if you
in it.
catch kids who didn't put it in the pouch, then you take it away and then you have that on conversation. It's not going to last long. I think it's a
It's a bit of a culture shift, but then it's not punitive. It's not like it just becomes the culture. You just put your phone away. Now you're in class. Now you're engaged.
So this would be something that we would have to purchase for every classroom, and how, depending
We're
on.
not talking about those pouch things. We're just talking about like a shoe thing. You throw them in.
pouch.
Touch.
You're talking about the pouch things? Oh, no.
You need to pick up.
I mean, half of the seat, I don't know.
Loosey about where you
No,
put it, and they'll put it on their desk.
No,
Oh, here it
when you
is.
say a pouch, you're talking about like just something they slide it into. You're not talking about those things they got
No, not the
chickabided.
locker
Oh, okay. That would be horrible.
No.
Okay.
Would it be helpful if I try to reach out to other districts and see if there are districts who have set policies around this where it's successfully having students walk in, they put the phones in the pouch, and I mean, I did see it with detention, but that was one experience. So I'm not saying that I think John made the point that success is relative to the class.
I think years ago when we were doing, there was part of it, they were doing a lot of kind of fun survey stuff, kind of like a book or like a Kahoot, but it was more on the phones at that time because the kids all didn't have the computers. And I don't know if the teachers use the phones like to do like study or like Quizlets or things like that. I'm assuming because you have your
Chromebook.
It's kind of like you choose, like if you want to use your phone to play like a Kahoot or Blooket, you can like use it, or if you want to use your Chromebook, you can.
But more people will opt to use their phone when given the choice.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's be honest to that point. They're jumping from window to window as well.
Yeah.
When they're using their phone, which is why they do it. I think if we change the culture and give them the technology, I think it's a great idea.
I do too. All in.
Okay, I will reach out, see if I can get some sample policies.
John, I'll add just,
Please do.
I'm not opposed to, I think, phones, it's a problem, of course. But I would say that I've seen definitely hesitation in students, even like the mention of the phone pouches, especially the locked ones. Those were, yeah. But
It feels like an invasion of privacy almost. So I totally understand that. I totally get that.
I think it's just some kids could be a little too apprehensive. And in that case, it could become a bigger distraction in the classroom if they come in and they have to put the phone in the phone pouch. And then they're like, I'm not putting my phone.
I know, but we have to help them with that. And I get your point.
Right.
My daughter went to Taylor Swift and her phone got ruined, got soaking wet this weekend, and she couldn't go the day without it. Yeah. But we had to get a new phone. So I get it. I get that not having it, but I think we could help with that if it's a holistically district-wide, start them young.
And again, if it's everyone and it's not punitive, it's not like, it's just a few people, it's everyone. It just becomes part of what you do. And then it's not a punishment. It's just the culture.
And nobody forgets their phone at home. Let's be honest.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
You go back and come in late if you forget it. I know.
Maybe we could see what other districts are doing too. They might have something that kids find is fine and the teachers can work with. And
I just feel as though like the phone, like the pouches, like the shoe kind of things are like almost like a happy medium in my opinion, because like, first of all, if the entire school does it, like, and if it's like set in stone, not by just teachers, but like school committee, like superintendent, like you can't affect that. You can't be like, oh my God, I hate this teacher because they make me put my phone in public. No, you can say you hate the school committee, like there isn't like you can't say you hate them because it's not their fault because they have to enforce the rules like all the other rules. Yeah. Because if you do something where you're just locking up in the phone, at that point it's stupid, because we have to learn how to grow with technology and to use it just as we all have Chromebooks and we use things like iPads, like with like the little kids. And like, you have to learn how to like use the technology to the best of your advantage instead of locking on and be like, oh, okay, this is like, like it's a reality in our lives. I mean, we all have phones. You guys have computers sitting on your tables. It's there. You can't just like lock it away and forget about it. It's just like, I think pouches are like
window to window on the Chromebooks too. Lock those out.
But would you admit that we're not learning to use them responsibly? All of us. I'll admit it.
Yeah, everyone.
Myself. Yes.
Everyone, it doesn't matter.
So if we as a district can help that in terms of learning to do that for an hour at a time, I think it's advantageous to keep people on focus, on task. And we provide the technology anyway. I can't see anything that you can do on your phone that you can't do on the Chromebook.
No, I think from that standpoint, you can do it on the Chromebook. People probably feel more comfortable in some cases on their phone, but that doesn't mean they can't learn and cross. And if you're using it in a way where it's going in during the instructional time and then you get it back during your passing time, it's not as though you're going without the entire day. You have it during lunch, and so forth. So I certainly can look for example policies, and we'll bring them back to you. And
Can see if it impacts test scores.
yeah, we'll see. Maybe.
Well, so when you're in class, where do you keep your phone?
It depends on.
It depends on the class.
Yeah.
Is it right here?
Most like in like
Yeah.
psych, my phone goes away. I'm
Mine
scared of Miss
does it.
Ruger.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate your honesty, but it's a reality. I mean, mine's right here too. I'll admit it, right? But if it wasn't, I might be less distracted.
Like, I think in some classes, yes. And like some class, like maybe if I'm just like entering a class, I might not think to put it right away. Or like I know like me and Ashley are both in like the careers and education class where like we both have to like put our phones away when we're at like our placements. So it truly depends on like what class you're in, especially if the teacher's like, if like you don't put your phone away, I'm gonna like send you to the office. So obviously I don't want to get sent to the office. So I'm gonna put my phone away. But like if the teachers say I'm not gonna think about it quickly to like put it immediately in my bag.
It's very dependent on like the culture and the standard that's set at the beginning of the year. Cause I think that sets the tone for a lot of students to have expectations on what the consequences are, if there are going to be any, for using their phones.
It's fair.
And then
Everything.
the consistency there.
And enforcing it
Yeah.
too. Cause if you don't enforce it, then that's when it starts getting out of control.
I've noticed when there's like a sub, it's always interesting when there's a sub because there's a different.
It's very dependent on who the sub is too.
Right. So I know there's been instances where kids have been sent to the office for using their phone
Or
when
looking at their
there's a
phone.
sub, because usually the teacher's more lenient. So it really it's
Which
a
that
tough
part is
balance. Yeah, it's
And that helps the
Because
sub
there's no
too.
consistent
It's a school rule and that's it.
right.
Okay.
And I also think about that in terms of, we've got a pretty loosey-goosey dress code right now, but I mean, with anything like that, if we can give the staff and our principals, you know,
Ground to stand on.
ground to stand on, thank you. You don't have to work on that anytime soon, but I'm just saying, you know, I mean, moving forward and all the different things, I'm just saying it's helpful to them. Because I know with COVID, a lot of things just kind of got put, and that's understandable. You're not going to be bugging a kid over certain things that aren't necessarily as important as just having them be in school during what we just went through. So
Are we still not wearing hats?
that's supposed to be.
Not supposed to be, but that doesn't mean that people don't wear them.
I think I saw a couple today.
I see more hoods than hats.
Yeah.
I don't think hoods aren't allowed, but hats aren't allowed.
Yeah. So it's
My
a
own brother.
So think about it.
ongoing.
Brother.
It should, it's just the
But we don't enforce it. Therefore,
Yeah.
it doesn't give them the leg to stand on. So
Okay, got some work to do. Yeah.
So I'll work on first, if I'm understanding the will of the committee, looking for example, cell phone policies regarding how to keep the instructional time without the distraction of cell phones.
Yeah, find us a pocket one.
Pocket,
Please.
Okay.
I think, yes, that does not lock it down for the day.
Right.
Pocket, but
That's too
not
much. That's extreme.
There you go. Okay, pocket, no lock it.
no pocket. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you all for that discussion. We're still going.
Late
Yeah,
for
we're
that.
still going.
We're merely here by coincidence.
Yes.
There you go.
Then we get into disciplinary action by administrators. And then, so this is a new paragraph, slightly revised from what used to be there. Basically, what it's saying, just simplifying it, is that you still have emergency removal. You still have the dangerous elements of weapons and so forth where you can immediately act. But other than that, we as administrators across the district will not take the extreme action of suspension, short-term and long-term suspensions without considering some of these things that we list down below. Some of those items listed below were already in the code of conduct, and then you can see where we've added certainly the 4 that were mentioned in the changed law: mediation, conflict resolution, restorative justice, and collaborative problem solving. The interesting piece to all of this is, depending on the situation, there's no time frame that the law sets in terms of, as you are trying to mediate or you're trying to work through conflict resolution or collaborative problem solving, what's your threshold of time in terms of whether that's being successful or not? The key, as you see a number of times in the change in the law, is you have to document. So you document that you've tried it, you document why or why not in your professional estimation did not work, and then you keep moving to other remedies. So you've exhausted remedies, or you've reached a situation where things are becoming dangerous. So it's an interesting balance that administrators have to move through as they look at this. There was a paragraph that DESE in their tiered focus monitoring, when they came in and they were looking at special education and civil rights, advised us to take out completely. And so they took that out at the bottom there. We see Saturday detention as the last one. There was old paragraphs that dealt with 45-day long-term suspension and expulsion, and the laws have changed around that, especially around special education and so forth. So they just advised us to take it all out. Birchland Park added under their grounds for Saturday detention, repeated violations of school rules and racial or sexual harassment. I'm sorry.
We could always send an ornery high schooler to Birchland for their Saturday detention. That person a little more money.
Staff members supervising that, we really appreciate it.
Little extra in the statement.
Nothing on 18 or 19. And then we get to top of page 20. And this was a section that used to be in school suspension, but in the eyes of the law and the eyes of DESE, in school suspension is suspension. So what we've changed here and we've been working on is some type of temporary alternative schedule. And that doesn't mean that the entire schedule for the student of the day changes completely. It may mean that just a portion changes. It may mean that we take a high school schedule that one class that day changes. It may mean that while we're working through some things that that one class you're meeting with a counselor, or you're meeting with an administrator, or you're going to be working with one-on-one with someone from that department. But you're also going to be working on resolving whatever the conflict was that caused the original incident. So we put in the language around temporary alternative schedules. We have language that obviously this would be communicated to families and students very quickly. And the key is the why, as well as the time frame. And we did make sure that we had the attorney look at this specifically, and it seems like this is fully in compliance with the new legal changes. So
it's frustrating to me because I feel like every student deserves an education. But when one student is taking away the education from the whole rest of the class, and we got to play this nonsense, and it takes time and it's effort. I see it every single day right now. And you have kids who might be quietly distressed being in that classroom, but they don't have a right to speak up because they do, but they don't feel like they do. And I mean, I know our hands are tied and we have to do this, but it's too bad because I think it's setting a precedent where we just have to keep our mouths shut over certain behaviors, and it's taking away from the educational process of every student in a classroom where there's disruption day in and day out. And we can't even take that child out and put them in a safe space to do these things. We got to keep them playing games with them. I know. Well,
technically, we could,
flustered
with a temporary alternative schedule. The challenge may be, especially at the younger level, that you don't have a schedule that changes as rapidly as, say, the middle and the high school do. So yes, so that's challenging.
Does the state have guidance on that, or do they? Or is it just you guys being inventive?
We're being creative.
I like that. Okay.
Showing our professional expertise.
All right.
But we're not dissimilar to probably every district right now in the Commonwealth, because DESE has not provided much guidance on this other than you have to document. And so we are looking for ways. I mean, no one's wild about suspension. I don't think there's any administrator in our district who wants to suspend their way out of any kind of situation. generally suspensions happen when you have a situation where there has been some sort of dangerous activity. And it may be much more rapid and immediate, and you can document that. And then you have 2 days basically to come back to some type of hearing and review everything that happened. And should in that hearing there be something that needs to be resolved on our end with the process, that can happen. Or should there be something in that hearing that was not reviewed because we needed to move fast to make sure that people were safe? There could be further days where the person is removed from, unfortunately, school. But we're working hard to not do that. We'd like to partner more with our families and have fewer days out, hence the attendance policy where we're looking to keep people in. So it's a tricky balance. Fun times to enter into education. So we're looking for
I'll let it go.
some highly skilled individuals that can help us out. Any other questions on temporary alternative schedule? We were actually pretty excited that our attorney felt that could stay.
No, I think that's
Yeah, that was good. Again, on page 21, the folks that came in, the touring group from DESE, wanted us to add the area that's somewhat highlighted in pink. All written communications regarding notice of proposed suspension shall be either by hand delivery or delivered by first-class mail, certified mail, or email to the address provided by the parent/guardian for school communications. This is where, when you're talking about written, if DESE can recognize email, we can recognize email. It's good for DESE. Yes. Nothing on 22. Nothing on 23. We're going to go a few pages here. The attorney and DESE, because this is their alley that they were doing the tier focus monitoring on. So education language and different things that we're doing. Unfortunately, we need to get into some type of disciplinary action. And that takes us to 30. And this is now dealing with area around suspension, and we're dealing with the sexual harassment policy. And on page 30, our attorney did want us to make some revisions under reporting and disciplinary action and how we do things, because depending on how things are reported to us, we have to have a Title IX investigation, and we have to have someone to whom Title IX complaints can go. And that person is Mr. Fredette in his role as Student Support Services, but he also can have designees, which generally are the principals, in helping us investigate situations. If something becomes complicated, or we feel that it might be challenging depending on a given situation in a school, depending on relationships and so forth, we also have had attorneys help us with investigations because they are an objective third party.
Is this something that I know we have it, but you guys know that there's a hotline to call if there's been a problem with sexual harassment? And that's important.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something that.
So that's something that we should be highlighting better.
Because you get the book,
Not only in the code of conduct, which I'm sure all four of you have read cover to cover.
All 13 years. Of course.
All 13 years.
It's also on the website under Safe Schools.
Yeah.
But what point you're taking, which is a good one, is that we should be verbally repeating that to the school year. Where should you go? Should you have a concern regarding any of this?
Right. And the phone number should be easy for them to see.
And I do have to applaud the high school. They have an easy, an anonymous form that is on the website. I believe it's under Safe Schools as well, that allows for bias and quick reporting of any kind of bias or hate crime.
That's good.
Yeah. So that's really good. And that came from their diversity committee. Those are the code of conduct. certainly put in place a cell phone policy at a later date, but if the school committee is comfortable with these revisions, we can start putting them in place more firmly, so to speak.
Okay, thoughts, discussion? Motion to approve.
Approve changes to the district code of conduct.
Sure. Yeah, motion made by Beth.
Second?
Second by Sarah, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0.
See what I can find on the cell phone policy. So thank you. Keep working on it.
We have an update on the feasibility study for East Long Meadow High School building project.
Okay, I will put this one on screen for you.
Is this the whole presentation?
No, I pared it down a little
Okay.
bit, but I can go into the whole presentation if you like. Mackie's excited.
I was there for it.
I know. And Mr. Tom Christensen did a good job giving people the
The good news.
good news. It's not easy.
No.
The good news being the cost.
Gives you an idea from the other night, as Mr. Thompson was saying, we did have a public forum that was quite successful. I think it was pretty well attended. Mr. Mackey was very good about recording it so it can go out on LCAT, and hopefully people are watching it and we'll get more questions, but it was a good step forward. So this gives you an update. You know that we're firmly into schematic design, and that as we're going through this process, the next big submission, and it'll be really big, will be in August of 2023. And that's going to help us set the final budget for this project. So they're creating more specific drawings, and they're starting to look at materials and different things that are obviously going to influence the overall budget. As I said, we held a successful community forum on May 18th. Just quickly, because I think it's important that we continue to show that we are making outreach to the community and we are trying to get information out there as well as receive feedback. We've had 5 public forums, community forums, starting back in June 15th of last year, September 21st, November 16th, March 16th, and May 18th. We presented to 3 either PTO or school councils. We've been meeting, design team has been meeting with the high school faculty and academic departments. That happened in the fall, but it's also happening again right now. And actually, our area is meeting with the design team, I believe, Wednesday. And so different things are happening. You know that we had the booth at National Night Out. My guess is we'll probably have another booth at National Night Out this year. And that back in August, we had a community survey that was online. This is, I won't go through all of this, but this is the spring in terms of, as well as in the summer, some of the things they're trying to accomplish in the feasibility study. Some of that's meeting right now with the different academic departments, as we just said. So, one thing I did want to mention here is they're also meeting with middle school students. So they did schedule that and had meetings with middle school students to get their ideas in terms of what they think a high school should look like. And then one that they mentioned, June 7th, there's a sustainability charrette from 2:30, I think, till 4 here at the high school in the library. Anybody interested in attending and talking about sustainability and energy savings and so forth. So just to give you an idea, as the vision continues to take shape, this gives you an overhead look from the front as well as an overhead look from the back, gives you a little bit of the layout in terms of what the bus loop would look like and drop off, as well as parking in there, and a separate loop for student drop off, as well as parking. The trees have yet to really be set in stone. That was a question that was asked the other night. It's also a question that the MSBA asked. So as we look at different visions, we're seeing fewer and fewer trees.
It's a good idea for all student drivers.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I like though that there's like rows, you know what I mean? Now it's just like, you know, it's like a madhouse, you know, so at least there's curb.
And they're
Well, they
also
mentioned something
worried
about
about
the curbs,
making
too.
sure how you plow.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you don't want to obstruct plows too much. So you want the parking lots clear. So
House can go a little slower.
this gives you a better, it's not a overhead the way you saw before, but it gives you an out sort of a look at what would the high school campus become and where in that dotted line the original building was. So because they're going to start building the new building while we're working in the old building. So that will have an interesting impact on not only how we use fields, but just how we operate in general, because you're going to have a construction setting going on for about 2 school years. But in the upper right corner, you do see what will become our new tennis courts. The athletic field will stay where it is, the turf field. It will have a new press box and a new concession stand, as well as bathrooms, real bathrooms, not porta potties. And then you have basketball courts as you're coming back towards the building. And then that structure there on the outside that's somewhat square, although it's got protrusions that does not make it a complete square. That's the pool building, separate project. We'll talk about that in future slides. And then the building itself. So should this project actually get completed, which we are really hopeful that it will, we get good support the other night. Your amenities are going to include on this campus a varsity baseball field with dugouts, fencing, and irrigation, a varsity softball field, which right now exists over at Birchland with lights, dugouts, fencing, and irrigation, a JV baseball, a JV softball, and 3 multi-sport fields with irrigation and practice field. 6 tennis courts, which we saw in the previous slide, 2 basketball courts with lights, the tennis courts, and it's enough because we do want this project to be a community project. We'll have striping on at least 3 of them for pickleball. New ticketing and concessions building with restrooms, new press box that will be accessible by a ramp, not the ladder that currently exists. Separated staff and student parking, and then key for some of the congestion that we see on a daily basis at the high school, separation of parent and school bus drop-off. 2 outdoor classroom areas right now. Obviously, this is all still in development, and 1 outdoor dining area. We will have a playground for the Little Big Kids program. New loading dock that actually can handle trucks that are delivering to our building, and accessibility for handicapped individuals and pedestrians all the way around the building. So that will be something that we've never had, and we're excited about that. And then space for summer concerts eventually when you get out of the construction phase. You have to get out of the construction phase. We're going to have a couple of years when we get into this where we're going to have to work with our neighbors and be creative to see how our teams practice and compete, because we're going to have fewer fields. Certainly we'll go to the max in scheduling our turf field, but that can only handle so many practices and games. So this is right now what the updated floor plans are looking like, but we are still in the meetings with different constituent groups, and we'll see how this might change. But a couple key things, if I move my cursor, this is where the pool connection would be. Those are 2 separate projects. So, you're going to see plans go forward for the building. And then eventually, since we're doing schematic design of the pool, separate plans for the pool. But there is a thought, obviously, that these two projects are connected and we will eventually connect to the pool. So there would be public access 20 outside of school hours, not 24/7, but public access to the pool that would be further up in this area. So you wouldn't necessarily have to come into the school to access the pool in off hours. However, you could come in, say, if it's a swim meet or something else going on in the gym, and come in this way, and that could be a public entrance right there, which would be a little different than having to always come through the main entrance over here. As you can see, we've revamped, and this has become sort of your presentation and more public engaging programs like band and chorus and different things that might be going on in the auditorium, our art classes, as well as the video studio. You see still the large cafeteria, 2 sections. We'd have a cafeteria A and cafeteria B. You wouldn't have physical barriers necessarily separating them, but you would be able to, the way they set up the furniture and the way the space sort of invites and becomes larger, you have an idea of where one section is and the other section is. And then you have 2 academic wings, but you also have 2 floors on each of those academic wings. So 4 areas for classrooms. Any questions on that? No? What does this bring us in terms of educational advantages? So obviously it's organized to create a more inclusive and student-centered environment and school culture. And that was one of the biggest things that we've taken from any survey and public feedback that we've been able to gather in the different forums. It provides better sized teaching spaces. As our students here know, we do have undersized teaching spaces currently, especially in our science labs. How you go about a lab, then impedes the lab experience, which then may hurt some of the skills that you're leaving with, especially if you're going to pursue the sciences at the next level. However, our teachers are exceptional, as are our students, and so they've been adapting and overcoming quite a bit for many years. It provides space types and outdoor learning, varied space types, and outdoor learning spaces that we talked about. It invites, which is important, more collaboration. And that will be a little bit of a change because it's also interdisciplinary collaboration, which I think is going to be a really good thing. It updates. So something that we don't talk about a lot, but we should be talking about, especially as we get further into schematic design, this project includes updating technology. And it includes certainly updating furniture, although if we have purchased furniture that we feel is something that's flexible and viable and something we want to put in a new building, we can do that. But all of this is part of the budget process. And so that's pretty cool because all of that is exciting and departments are getting to weigh in on that. And I'm not sure in some of the initial meetings that we realized they were weighing in on that. So they got sent back to do some homework. They could come back and have a meeting that helps the design team figure out where we're going. New infrastructure, and then reinvesting and looking at some of our programs and how we really bolster things like art and drama and music and make sure that our PE classes and other hands-on learning spaces are the best able to support our students. Proof security, you saw that front door. Basically, you're going to have, I won't go through every detail here, but main entrance where the majority of people will be coming through anytime students are in the building and school is in session. You have vestibules that visitors will be buzzed into. So first they would be met and welcomed through intercom at the exterior door. Then they get buzzed in and they still have to go through some discussion with the individual who would be working the door at that given time. Where are they going? What are they going to see? And so there's opportunity to say, I'm not sure. I think we're going to stay here because all of those doors lock all the way through. We'd also have abuse resistant class, and you're going to have a better camera system than we currently have. And we have a pretty good camera system right now. That's something that our IT department does an excellent job in, given the size of this building and the challenges that this building presents to put cameras around. So we would have a better ability to invite the public in, but not necessarily have the entire building open to the public when we have different events at night. And so I think all of that is exciting. Pool project, which, if I haven't said, is a separate project than the building project. But they are connected, and they will be connected in November when we go to vote. So we have a pool building committee that has already been formed and is starting to work. It's working in a connected fashion with the school building committee. There are some crossovers as well in terms of people on that committee from the school building committee, but then there are also individuals who are bringing their expertise around pools and swimming programs and so forth. And that's pretty cool. So we're up and running, and we will continue to work with the design firm to catch up in this process of schematic design. And I think our next big commitment is to get over to West Springfield, because a lot of what we've been basing current thoughts on have been the pool over West Springfield. We want to see that. How's it working now that it's a few years old? What are some of the challenges, some of the things that they gained in that experience? As you can see on the side here, you would have a little bit of a different public entrance where you access the pool and not necessarily have to access the school. This was a big one for discussion the other night. But I do want to point out a couple things as you look at the overall project. Although the project cost is $177 million, we are estimating that we would get $55 to $57 million from the MSBA, which then puts the town cost somewhere around $120 to $122. Right now, using West Springfield as a model, and then escalating the costs that they went through to today's prices, we have somewhere around a $14 to $16 million pool project. So overall, you're looking at $192 million with a cost to the town about $134 to $138 million. And that's a significant cost. No one is in any way trying to diminish that fact. But we also know that it's a generational decision that really could move the town forward.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? And so this is something that I think Ms. Margie Boucher was saying that Mr. Christensen did a nice job the other night in just explaining that there is going to be an impact when you take out what we're thinking is going to be a 30-year bond, that the impact for the, say, $1,000 of assessed value on your home could be anywhere when you add both the school, the school and the pool, somewhere between $3.30 and $3.60. And so you would take what your assessed value is in terms of that per $1,000, and you would add that in. You would be able to do the math to get what would work for your home. Then we just took what is the average price for a single family home currently in East Long Meadow, which I believe is somewhere around $339,811. And that would work out to somewhere in this range. Sorry, I keep going backwards. So you're looking at about $1,100 to $1,200 of increase during the life of that bond. Now, a couple of things that were presented during the discussion the other night is that you're not going to see this impact immediately. It's not going to be in year one or year two as you're going through the project. It's going to be down the road as they bond. The other piece is if there's fluctuation as in what the town's debt service is, that's going to have impact on your taxes as well. It's going to go up and down, but there will be an impact. That's not something that anyone was diminishing. It's just that we want people to know these numbers aren't set in stone. These aren't necessarily the exact numbers. And that even when we get to the end of August and we have more exact numbers for the budget, this part still may fluctuate over time, over the time of that 30 years. And so that's something that people should know.
Do you have a slide like this, Gordon, that runs the numbers at 192 million?
192 million project.
That's what it is.
That's what it, no, this is with the MSBA. I'm saying, do we have one that shows
Oh,
without the
interesting.
MSBA,
Yeah.
what those numbers would look like?
You put a third, excuse me, a third back in.
So you're saying if you don't vote for it, this is what you will end up paying?
Potentially.
Kind of like this slide, but
Kind of like, but
yeah,
with the numbers. Yeah,
we don't, but we could start working on
just
that.
like another visual to kind of say,
Right. And that's what we got into. It's a great point. We got into, as we went to this slide, the fact that if you decide, okay, no, we're not going for this, then the picture you see there, you're going to keep that building. You're going to have to put in probably immediately the roof first. And that's going to be easily over $10 million by the time we get to it, probably more. And so that, and I think Mr. Thompson made this point, when's the last time that we did a $10 million capital project, given that we, in the operational budget, usually budget around 1.5 million, although we do have projects that go out to bond and so forth. With that said, each of these big projects, roof, electrical, we haven't even looked at what the full cost of the HVAC might be. All of those probably would go to a debt exclusion vote, which means that you're going to have an impact to your taxes with each one of these capital projects. And when you finish these capital projects, you're going to have a drier building, but it'll probably still look like this. And when you add the HVAC, and Mr. Thompson made this point the other night, the only way with this building, if you add the HVAC and bring it up to current code, is you're going to have to bring the walls in so that the system can go behind the new walls, which means you're making the classrooms even smaller.
And the ceiling's lower.
And with a smaller classroom, where would we put that phone pouch? That would be problematic. And so
I didn't know if maybe it's foolishness to do it, but you know, we had discussed a little bit back before my older kids were even in school. They wanted to renovate all 3 elementary schools and do an addition onto Meadowbrook School. And they would have been all brand new on the inside. It would have been $10 million cost to the town. That's it. And we know we've put more than $10 million into buildings that don't look brand new. So, you know, and Birchland only passed by 20 votes.
Right.
Oh,
that was said the other
20
night.
votes. Yeah, that's it.
This is something that we feel
Scared.
the town deserves, the residents deserve.
Yes.
It will benefit more than just the students, although the primary driver here is the educational program. That's why we're in the MSBA process. That's why MSBA is participating.
mhm.
You know, were we to go this route and we just call it a base repair, we don't even know how much they would participate. And so that's problematic in and of itself. So with that said, next steps, and we can certainly talk with the design team about maybe creating a slide like that. We have that sustainability shred. If anybody's interested, 2:30 at the high school in the library. School building committee is going to continue to meet regularly with the design team and review updates, talk about some of these things that points that all of you have made tonight. And the pool building committee is going to get over to West Springfield for a field trip and maybe a quick swim.
Okay, any questions, concerns, discussion? Looks good.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Everybody's 18? Yeah, 18? 18? Yeah.
Oh,
Registered to vote?
November.
yeah.
Sweet, nice.
I already voted once.
Good. November, come on out.
November. And you can get an absentee ballot.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Right, Ashley?
Perfect. Please do. Okay, excellent. More information to come. Thank you, Gordon, for summarizing all that. And we have one final a topic for discussion tonight. It's the acceptance of 2 American Express gift cards from Maple Shade School for the music department from M&T Bank. Pam, do you have a
Yeah.
story on that?
Erin Ty, the teacher, had reached out to me to say that she is in charge of what they call the Player Club. It's a theater club there at Maple Shade, and that M&T Bank had donated 2 gift cards, $500 and $130, to help them purchase a microphone. So they're very excited and very grateful. So Connor Martin, the principal, is requesting the school committee accept the gifts so they can spend the funds.
Excellent. Take a motion in that regard, please.
Move to approve the 2 American Express gift cards totaling $630 from M&T Bank to be deposited into the Maple Shade school gift account.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Motion made by Sarah. Amy, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 4-0.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And if there's nothing else further, let's get out of here. I'd say
Wow.
take a motion to adjourn.
So maybe.
Motion made by Sarah. Second by discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Carries 4-0. Thank you all. 4 of you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you in the future. Thank you for all the time you put in here in East Long Meadow, and we wish you well.
Kids, I've known them from afar for many years.
Your graduation. Okay, motion's been made and seconded on discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion. We, Patty.
Yeah.